Hey everybody, this is Miss Berry. In this video, we're going to go over section A.1. This section is not in the book, but you can find all of the information about this section in the Learn portion of that Hawks assignment. This is one of the appendices to our book, but it's really important, especially for those of you who plan to enter into the nursing program, or if you're doing anything with construction, this is really important. So in section A1, this section is called U.S. measurements. We're going to be looking at U.S. measurements or U.S. customary system of measurements like inches, feet, yards, miles, that kind of thing, pints, quarts, gallons. So I have included, or I've taken a screenshot of our handout here that has all the common conversions on it. You'll definitely want to have this beside you as you go through this section. So if you don't have that printed out already, then you should have a copy. But if you don't have it printed out already, then you should pause the video and go print it out first, and then come back and watch the video. All right, so we're going to jump right in and do some conversions. We're going to use a process that's called dimensional analysis. This is not the only way of doing conversions, but I like this method because it works every time, and it kind of helps you to see how you are converting between the units of measure and make sure that you have canceled everything out properly. All right, so as we go through this, we'll talk about the abbreviations. It says convert the units of measure as indicated. It says 128 pints is equal to how many quarts? So we're going to go over here to our conversion sheet. I'm going to click on my highlighter over here. Let's see if we can find the pints and quarts. Here we go. 1 quart is 2 pints. Okay, so 1 quart is 2 pints. So we'll need to remember that. So let's start doing our dimensional analysis. So the first thing you do is you take what you're starting with, what you know, and you're going to write it as a fraction. So 128 pints over 1. Right, now we need to cancel out the pints. So we're going to put that in the denominator. It said that 1 quart is 2 pints. All right, so 2 pints is the same as 1 quart. All right. Now we can cancel out our common factors. Pints cancels with pints. And now we're just going to multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and then simplify. 128 times 1 is 128 quarts over 1 times 2 is 2. All right, now you just have to divide this. I've got my calculator out. If you guys want to see what I'm doing, let me pull it up. All right, so 128 over 2 is 64. All right, so that's 64 quarts. So we can write in our answer 64. Excuse me. So that is the process of dimensional analysis, is where you use, they're called unit fractions, to cancel out the units that you want to get rid of, and you want to end up with whatever units your particular question is asking for. All right, so let's do this next one. We're starting off with some easy ones. 8 weeks is equal to how many days? Now, you could do this without using dimensional analysis. I'm going to show you how to do it with dimensional analysis. And again, let me just write down here what we're doing. This is called dimensional analysis. So I'm going to write down the process of dimensional analysis, again, you may be able to do this one in your head because it's units that we're used to using. All right, so we have 8 weeks. That's what we're starting with, over 1. All right, we're going to multiply that by, let's go over to our chart. They might not even say it on here, but we know that there's 7 days in a week. So in 1 week, that's the same thing as 7 days. All right, so we'll cancel out our common units. Weeks cancels with weeks. And we're left with days, which is what we wanted. So we know we can go ahead and multiply through. 8 times 7 is 56 days. 1 times 1 is 1. So that's just equal to 56 days. So now we can write that in, 56. Right now, let's look at part C. It says, I'm just going to unhighlight that now that we're done with it. All right, so it says 12 feet is equal to how many inches? Again, this is units that you may be used to working with, so you might can do this one in your head. I'm going to just show you the process of dimensional analysis just so we can practice. 12 feet, you put it over 1 times, you look on your chart, it says 1 foot, which is FT, is equal to 12 inches. All right, so put feet in the bottom because that's what we want to cancel out. Feet will cancel with feet. That's the same thing as 12 inches. IN means inches. Cancel your common units. Feet cancels with feet. Then multiply across the top. 12 times 12 is 144 inches. And then in the bottom, we just have 1 times 1, which is 1. That's the same thing as just 144 inches. Okay. So far they've been pretty easy. Let's look at one that's a little bit harder, where we have to multiply by more than 1 unit factor. All right, so we have 33 gallons, GAL stands for gallons, equals how many pints? PT stands for pints. All right, so you're starting off with 33 gallons over 1. Let's go over here to our sheet. Gallons is a type of volume measurement, and it's for liquid measure. So we see right here, let me get my highlighter. All right, so it says 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. And then 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. So we're going to use both of those. All right, so we got to get rid of gallons first. So it says 1 gallon is the same thing as 4 quarts. All right, so that's going to get rid of our gallons. But now we have quarts and we wanted to have pints, so we need to get rid of quarts now. So we're going to multiply by another unit factor, so times. It says that 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. All right, so 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. This time, this is going to make our quarts units cancel. And now we're left with pints in the top, which is what we want. So now we can just go ahead and multiply through, multiply the top, multiply the bottom. So we have 33 times 4 times 2. So let's do our calculator. 33 times 4 times 2 is 264. So that's 264. And the units in the top is pints. All divided by 1, because that's 1 times 1 times 1. All the units have canceled in the bottom. And that's just the same thing as 264 pints. Okay. So that was our most difficult one so far. We had to use 2 unit factors. You could probably guess by looking at the next one that we're going to have a similar situation where we have to use 2 unit factors. So we have 13 hours equals how many seconds? So we're converting from hours to seconds. Let's start off. We have 13 hours over 1 times. So let's think how we could convert hours to seconds. We don't have a list on here because this is something we should know. 1 hour is the same thing as 60 minutes. All right, so that's going to cancel out our hours. But now we need to go from minutes to seconds. We can do that. 1 minute is the same thing as 60 seconds. So now you can cancel out the minutes. And now we've ended up with seconds, which is what we wanted. So we can go ahead and multiply through on the top. 13 times 60 times 60. All right, so 13 times 60 times 60 is 46,800. So 46,800 seconds. 1 times 1 times 1 in the denominator. So it's all over 1, which is just 46,800 seconds. A lot of seconds in 13 hours. So 46,800. All right. So far you've probably recognized all of the abbreviations for our units. This may be a new one. When I first saw this, I thought for a minute that it was referring to tablespoons, but it's actually referring to tons. So we have to be careful with this. This little handout that I gave you is not from our textbook. This is just one that I've always used when I was talking about dimensional analysis, and I like it because it has a lot of conversions on it. But your book and your homework may use different abbreviations than this sheet does. So just be careful when you're considering that. So this says 12 tons equals how many pounds? All right, so we have 12 tons. And you can write it out if you prefer to see it that way, over 1. Now, tons is a type of weight measurement, so we're looking here. It says that 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds. All right, so we're going to multiply that by a unit factor. 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. These are called unit factors because it's really like you're multiplying by 1, since these are exactly the same. 2,000 pounds is exactly the same as 1 ton. So unit in math means 1. So that's why they're called unit factors. We're going to cancel out our common units there. Tons cancels with tons. We ended up with pounds in the top, which is what we want. So let's go ahead and multiply across the top. 12 times 2,000. 12 times 2,000 is 24,000. So that's 24,000 pounds over 1 times 1 is 1, which is the same thing as just 24,000 pounds. All right, so let's write that in. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's look at our next one. These problems aren't terribly difficult. Excuse me. But the more the more steps that you have to take, like for example, when we went from gallons to pints, we had to multiply by 2 unit factors. Sometimes we'll have to multiply by more than that. And so it can get not hard, but it just gets messy. So you just have to be really careful, try to keep your work as neat as possible. All right, so on part G here, we're going from 56 fluid ounces. Now that's important because ounces is also a type of weight measurement, but in this case, fluid ounces is a type of volume measurement. So we're going from 56 fluid ounces to cups. So C stands for cups. So we're starting with 56 fluid ounces over 1 times. Now let's look at our sheet, at our conversion sheet. You can see right here under the volume measurement that 1 cup is the same thing as 8 fluid ounces. Right, so that's our unit measurement. We want ounces to be in the bottom, fluid ounces to be in the bottom. So that's going to be 8 fluid ounces in the bottom because we want fluid ounces to cancel. And that's the same thing as 1 cup. All right, so cancel out your common units. Fluid ounces cancels with fluid ounces. We're left with cups in the top, which is what we wanted. So we know we're done. We don't need any more unit factors. We can just go ahead and multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. 56 times 1 is 56 cups over 1 times 8 is 8. 56 divided by 8 would be 7. So that's the same thing as 7 cups. All right, and then the last one that I had for section 8.1 is 19 pounds. 19 pounds is equal to how many ounces? I tried to pick conversions that I thought were could be useful to you at some point in the future. So I tried to pick stuff that I thought maybe a nursing student could use, like pounds to ounces. If you're given a baby medication, sometimes you need to know how much they weigh in ounces instead of in pounds. So I tried to pick stuff like that, or tried to pick stuff that maybe you could use in your daily life, like weeks to days and stuff like that. All right, so let's do this last conversion, pounds to ounces. Pounds and ounces are a weight measurement, so we know we're going to be looking up here. Let me delete this little highlighted portion. I guess we could just move it. Pounds to ounces. Let's see, there it is right there. All right, so let's do this conversion. All right, so 19 pounds over 1 times. So let's go over here and look at our unit conversion. It says we're trying to get rid of pounds, so we know we're going to put pounds in the bottom. So 1 pound, let me write that again. 1 pound is the same thing as 16 ounces. And we know we're going to cancel our common units. Pounds cancels with pounds. We ended up with ounces in the top, which is what we wanted. So we have no more unit factors we need to use. Now we're just going to multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and simplify. All right, so 19 times 16 is 304. So that's 304 ounces. 1 times 1 is 1, so over 1, which is the same thing as 304 ounces. Okay. All right, so that is section 8.1, just unit conversions. I always use dimensional analysis to do these conversions. I like doing it this way because you do it the same way every time. It kind of helps you develop a pattern in your brain. And it's also, just good practice. It helps you see if you do make a mistake, you can go back and easily find where the mistake is because you've got everything written out. And if you have any questions about this section, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.